go. Opening day down in Kentucky. And man, it feels so good to be back in a tree. Gavin and I are all set up. We definitely didn't pick the easiest tree to hang in. But it's in this little island that we're looking at a map and thought it'd be a good little spot. We can shoot on almost all sides of the tree right here. Bunch of poison ivy all over this, just sweating up a storm, making noise. Typical opening day fiasco, but we're settled in. This property that we're hunting is one that Grant got permission on, and we've only been running cameras for like a week, maybe 2 weeks, and so far we just have a lot of just, solid bucks. There's nothing that really jumps out. There's just a lot of like borderline shooters, and obviously this is Kentucky, so we don't really know what to expect. We're both set up in what we think are good locations based on the cameras and just the terrain. This property, a bunch of big ridges that fall down to this big open field, and tonight there's basically no wind, and so we're playing thermals to fall down this low spot behind us. Matt and Grant and Gavin got here before I did, so they came out here, and in addition to checking cameras, they also glassed this big bottom field. It's just basically a big hay field, but there's some clover in it, and we wanted to see what was coming out, and they filmed a lot of deer, and again, they filmed a decent amount of good bucks. And they kind of came from everywhere, but some of the better bucks came from the CRP that's behind us, and so we're trying to really keep an eye on that hillside, and hopefully we didn't do too much damage making noise coming in here, because like I said earlier, the wind's just completely calm. The deer could really come from anywhere. We had a doe and a fawn just a minute ago out in this field. But whether or not we see a shooter, I'm just excited to be hunting again. It seems like it's been forever, and now it's here, and it'll probably fly by, so I'm going to try to enjoy it. Hopefully we'll all have a good evening. I know we'll see some deer. That's one thing that's been pretty consistent, is the amount of deer on this property has been really good, but we've never hunted it, don't really have any intel on it. It's just kind of a short window to try to figure it out. So we'll see how it goes.
Alright, well, it is September 4th, which means it is opening day here in Kentucky, and I cannot be more excited to be in the tree right now. Jared, myself, and the boys made the trip down here yesterday, and this is actually my old stomping grounds. This is where I grew up here in Kentucky, so this has quickly become one of my favorite trips of the year, just coming down here, hanging out with family and friends, and getting to hunt is just icing on the cake for me. So it's a beautiful night. This is a property that I haven't hunted actually since I was probably 14 or 15 years old. So I'm really excited to hunt this again. It's a big piece of property with a hayfield that runs east and west in the middle of it. And there's a lot of these coves that feed out into the big hayfield. And there's a lot of clover in these coves and in the hayfield. We're hoping that these deer come through these coves and make their way out into the hayfield. Like I said, I haven't hunted this property since I was 15 years old, and I actually came down last week to put trail cameras out, so we don't have a lot of intel on this property. So for that reason, I'm not going to be too picky. But we already have a few deer that stepped out into the field. And hopefully it's going to be a good night tonight.
I'd shoot that velvet one.
The one making the screen?
No, the one behind it. Alright, it's 7:08 right now, which is sunset time, so we don't have much light left. But we just got the blood pumping pretty good. We saw a deer that I would definitely shoot. He's still in full velvet. I don't know exactly where they came down the hill at. My first glimpse of them was the hardhorn buck in front, which was a solid deer too. Went and worked the scrape and kept going north, and that velvet buck was behind him along with another little buck. I don't know, they can't be too far away, but they're working away from us. So we're gonna hang in, but chances aren't great that they're gonna come back by. But that's all you can ask for, is see a good buck like that on the first night. We're down to our last few minutes here. Haven't seen a deer since those bucks went by a little bit ago. So it's not looking good for tonight, but man, it's awesome to see a couple good bucks like that. And now I'm already just going through the scenarios in my head for tomorrow's hunt. I'm looking at a cedar tree right here on this corner that potentially would put us within 40 yards of where those deer went through that cut. So that might be the play. I just have to wait and see what the forecast brings. I know it's supposed to rain, but it could be good tomorrow night. It's gonna be cooled off after that rain. Hopefully they'll move better than they did tonight. I'm anxious to hear how the other guys did. Can't beat that for night one.
chances?
Dude, that was wild.
What are the chances?
Why did they do that? Like,
I mean, the lead one is walking perfect.
Of all the things to go wrong.
Why did they run through that like that? There's no reason they should have done that.
You wouldn't think.
That would have been perfect.
It worked.
I would have shot the lead one. That's exactly what we want them to do. I mean, it worked to perfection as long as they didn't run through it. He started running when he was probably 35 yards away. And then once he started running, they all started running.
Dude, the only way I can make sense of that is like they're uncomfortable in this tiny little
spot right here.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking too. Like, I don't know if they just don't feel comfortable in this little spot or not.
Right.
Well, night one in Kentucky is an eventful one for sure. I cannot believe that just happened. We had 3 or 4 does feeding in this little cove that we're in. And I could see some of the does start to look back in the timber. And about that time I looked over there, I saw the first buck come out. And there ended up being 4 bucks. And how we're set up is the biggest part of the cove is out in front of us, and it kind of pinches right where we're at. That goes into the hayfield. And as soon as they got in the pinch, that lead buck that I was going to shoot comes running through my shooting lane. As soon as that first one ran through, they all started running through. I tried to stop them, but they weren't stopping. But they got past me, and my wind is blowing straight down this lane right here. And as you guys can tell, they just got my wind, so that's disappointing, but that was a fun hunt.
That was pretty awesome.
For sure. And those are 2. The 9 I would have shot for sure, and then that 8 I would have shot. But I think the best thing to do is just go ahead and get out of here.